Good morning, everyone. This is Patrick. Welcome to today's webinar. Hope you're all staying dry. I hear that this remnants of Ida have been torrential in some places, and we have a new staffer in New York today who said that her basement was flooded and there's people who have drowned. So I hope you're not in harm's way. Just terrible to see the huge storm affect so many people. I am happy today, though, to do our first webinar in a couple weeks. We are back. It's September. It feels like we had a long summer. I've just got a couple of questions before we get started, just to kind of put us in the right frame of mind. First question is, hoping everyone is not affected too much by the Delta variant. Or just a quick question to ask you how things are going there. Just random stuff, just to see if you're there. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us. We are recording. Looks like we have one person responding. So yeah, there's okay, and then we've got peak COVID in some places. So thanks for playing the first poll here. I think most of you responded to the saying it was definitely could get worse. One person's saying, hey, it's all over. So that's good for you. So we're going to quickly close this poll and go to the next one, which is more apropos here. This is what we're talking about today is calendars, and I don't know if we've ever done a webinar on calendars before. Really happy that Mel came up with this wonderful idea. We had another webinar scheduled for this week, and we're going to get back to it on the tips and tricks for forms. But this week we had this really cool new innovation from Mel, and it looks like most of you have a use for this. That's great, 67%. And so we're going to close this out. And Mel, if you could, I guess we're sharing. So we're going to, I'm just going to quickly introduce Mel, and then I'll be quiet. Mel Clemente has been with us for many years, almost 13 actually. In fact, I think maybe more than 13. She is our senior forms designer, and she is the one who does all of the magic here at Qdabra in terms of how forms look and feel. We're going to do several really cool demos today for you and show you this form that is generic, and you can apply it to your forms. That's the idea, is you can take the template that we give you today with her instructions and just apply it. So Mel, thanks for doing this today. This is wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for the great introduction. I can't wait to start the webinar and present and tell people how to customize their forms using the calendar template that we provide. Thank you. Yeah, good morning, everybody. So today, like the title says here, we're going to create a custom calendar for your SharePoint forms, teach you how to do it. Okay, so let's start. All right, so for today's agenda, you saw this bullet in the invitation. So we want to automatically populate the dates by month. So I'm going to show you the quick glimpse of the actual calendar solution in a while here. So because it's a calendar, of course, there should be dates and there should be logic in the form to automatically populate those dates for you and switch through different months for the year, okay? And because we're using Forms Viewer, we're able to customize it the way we want. We can design it a way, make it very beautiful. So we can control how everything looks, not just the links, but the entire calendar itself. And of course, we have this tooltip technique that when we hover over dates or events, will show us more details about the event, so to speak. And then because with technology today, everybody's using forms on mobile. So we got to make it look good in mobile, right? So we're going to go through that as well. All right. And before I move on to my next slide, let me show you a quick glimpse of the calendar here. So I'm going to refresh this and you'll see that this loads fast too, right here. So this is actually a little plain for me, but I think it's pretty enough. I'm going to show you some samples on the web in a while as well. So this is September. I can browse through the previous month, and it's loading here because it's trying to query the events for this month. But yeah, you can actually go way far. We can add, I haven't done it, but we can add a way here to switch to a year by a drop down maybe or on button click, but this is the idea. And this template that we're going to provide, the other form that I'm showing is just a blank template. It instantly loads, like in a second it loads. It doesn't even show you the loading spinning wheel or my spinning icon, right? And it populates the dates already that way. So yeah, All right,
And this is the leave
switching back
request
to
where
my,
you're populating with data from the leave request form, right?
yeah, in the other template, the actual calendar leave request where there's data, but the template that I showed,
Can be used with any form.
that I showed last doesn't have any data.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so leave request is a great example because people take holidays and you want to be able to just see it in the calendar. But I mean, there's lots of examples of this. Joe, I see you're on the call. Obviously, you've got one of a calendar web part as well, and service requests as it comes to mind here is whenever you're scheduling anything, you need to see things in a graphical calendar. Sorry, Mel, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Oop, I have a bug there already. Don't want you to see that. Okay, so why this a calendar? So you saw the great interface there. I thought it's plain, but it's already actually great. But if you go through the web and browse for calendar templates, you can see a lot of examples. And again, you can, because you have you're using Forms Viewer and you can CSS design it, you can customize using CSS files and even JavaScript. You can add script in your forms, right? You can actually do these kinds of things. You can achieve what what the other apps are already doing today with, a little work. So yeah, that's there. And then you saw, because you were defaulting the calendar to the monthly view, you can get a glimpse of your team's, what your team is up to. You can instantly view it. And again, it's by month. Then you can customize title to show more details if you need it. All right. And the best thing, or the most favorite, my favorite here is that it can be a central dashboard for your multiple forms. So you saw the calendar, the customized calendar that I did. It only had the leave requests, but you can also add for example, meeting requests, schedules, reminders, travel dates, even timesheet logs. So anything that involves dates, you can add data connections to your multiple lists and populate the main data source so that they all show on the calendar. And maybe you can add a legend to let the user know what that is for. Okay, so I'll start with a demo so you can see what I mean here. I'm just gonna refresh. I don't know why this keeps popping. I'm gonna try to get rid of this. Okay, well, let me. All right, so here, so when we hover over these, you see more details. So I can see the entire title and the start and the end date. Although it's the same date, it shows me the time, right? So this is done with CSS. If I, for example, switch over to the next month here, we see that, okay, I thought there would be one for Hillary that is not only for this date. So this is through 11/28. So again, because it's using CSS, we can actually improve this so that this tile, this kind of card, extends all the way through the end date. All right, but I haven't done that yet. But that's that. And then when we click on one of these, I'm gonna go back to, and I'll tell you why later. These blocks, or these events, should have their link. So then when you click on them, it takes you to your form, which is also a forms viewer form. Or maybe if you're using hosting your form somewhere else, maybe you can do this. Again, the important piece is that your link to the form should be in the calendar data source. Okay, so here it's loading our leave request form. And okay, so let's say you're reviewing that, and as a manager, you're going to approve it and whatnot. And then as soon as you close the form, you'll be taken back to the calendar right where you were. So I'm actually, I think, yeah, I'm going to try October. So by default, when you load the form, you'll be taken to the current month, right? That's why we saw September. We see September every time we reload the form. But if I'm viewing Hillary's Hillary's leave request this October and close it, just want to show you the redirect part of this thing. If I close it, I'd be taken back to the same month where I was previously. All right, so that's good because you save yourself time there. You won't have to browse again where you left off and things like that. So what else here? I'm gonna open a new event. So if you want to submit new leave request, you just click on the day number here, and it takes you to your form with on the new form view. Like it allows you to fill out a new leave request form, like here. So everything is almost automatically populated in our leave request form here. So we just gotta pick dates and whatnot. So I tried to submit one myself earlier, but my manager's gotta approve it, so it's not showing up in my calendar yet. So this was the one I submitted. All right.
Do you want
So
me to do something, Mel? Do you want me to prove that?
no worries, no worries. So like here, the status show submitted. So there are things like that. So where does this data come from anyway? That's coming from a calendar list, and it doesn't have to come from a calendar list. You can host it, or you can store your data to any list, as long as you have your start time, your end time, and title, because that's what's going to show up on the view there in the default view. And like I said, the form URL, so that your users, when clicking on those events, would be taken to the actual form. But if you're not planning to, launch it, use your calendar with, have your users open the form, then you can have the form. You can choose not to have the form URL. So let's see what else. Let me show you what we have in the designer here. So yep, just this. We have the buttons here. That's for the desktop. We have ones for mobile. I haven't shown you how it works in mobile. Let me just do that real quick here. So if I go to my inspector and I'm already on mobile here, let me refresh, because I have a form load rule that determines if the form is being opened from a mobile device. And what it does, as you notice, the dates here, the days that are not part of this month have been truncated to show only the numbers, the month number, instead of here, shows the entire month name, because we have more real estate there. So, and the names too are now just showing the first names. I still need to improve this, because, things need to fit in this, in the actual screen width. But yeah, also the days there are now, only showing the acronyms or the short names, as opposed to the desktop version here. Okay. Oh, Patrick already approved it. Thank you. So yeah, this is the mobile version. And like I said, there are lots of things to improve here. My original plan for this, if time allowed, was to keep this top part just showing the days and no detail. So, and then what I wanted was, when you click on a day, to show the details down here, because that's how a typical calendar work on a mobile. Like your stock calendar on your phone does that, right? So that's actually what I wanted, just didn't have enough time. So yeah, it will look like only the numbers here, and when you click on one, this will open a new form. But yeah, it will show the details down there. Okay, so that's improvements for next time, and there are a lot actually. So we got to fix this mobile view, but it's actually good. Okay, and ranting about that, I'm going to show you how you can customize this, what's going on in behind the scenes, right? So you can start using this form in your scenario, in your environment. So we have these fields in the main data source. We got the days, that's repeating, and in each day would be the event, because there could be multiple events in a day, right? So I'm showing these in a repeating section, displayed using the grid technique in CSS. It's a modern technique. So the first thing you're going to want to do is update the data connection here. It's called the calendar list _ rest. We're using rest because we need to filter by the start date, being greater than the current month, and the end date less than the end month. And you know that if we use a stock calendar or stock library list data connection, we can't do greater than for the filters, for the query filters, right? So we need rest. So you're just gonna go here and update this URL to match your your SharePoint list, SharePoint site, and then your list name. And if you have the same columns, you can keep these columns. I'm including the category just in case I want to color legend my entries, but also the description in case you wanted to see more of that. But again, what's important is the title, event date, end date, and the form URL. Okay. So yeah, just modify that and go through the data connection and you're done with that part. Okay, and then let me switch over to my steps here real quick. Okay. So that's updating, and then, so that's the first step, updating the data connection. And then here in finish loading, I set new form URL. So whenever an empty date is clicked, you'd want users to be able to open a new form link. This isn't dynamic yet. We can make this, I think this could be, there's a way to make it dynamic, but you're going to still have to specify where the new form link would be. Okay, like this one goes to a new leave request form. Okay, that's the second step there. And every step that you need to customize here, I prepend with an asterisk so you'd know. And then there's a rule here in form logic that gets the actual items from the calendar. So here we go, get calendar items. So this one is the change connection URL that would include your query filters. So you're just changing your calendar, the REST data connection that you modified with the same columns there, and then you're saying event date is greater than the first day in the calendar, and then the end date is less than the last date in the calendar, because before that, we already built the calendar, and here are all the rules. You don't need to know this. These are all already pre-built for you, nothing to change here. This is the one building your calendar from first day to the last day of the month, okay? Then we populate the calendar at the end here. That's getting the calendar list items. All right, and then finally, you just design away, add your own branding and your logo. Let me get out of here and try to refresh. Okay, so yeah, you could put your logo there and change the colors here. All that is done in CSS, as you know. Here I am doing alternate colors for the odd and even repeating table rows, like I do orange for the odd ones and then purple for the even ones. Maybe later I can look up, incrementing by 3 or 4 or whatnot. That's why I'd have even more colors here. But those are CSS. And what else here in the layout? Yeah, just the colors you can customize. And I was talking about the dashboard being or this calendar being a central dashboard, right? So what I meant by that is because right now we're querying only the leave requests. But like right here, I say, we only have that data connection here, right? But I can add one more, for example, from a meeting request list, or actually, because I'm using a calendar list, all of my other forms can submit data to this list, which our current leave request is already doing. When I submit a new leave request form, which is a separate form, the data goes to its own library, and aside from that, submits the main details here in our calendar list. So whatever is in here can show up on my calendar form, right? Maybe you might want to have a legend here. Maybe it can go into the category column here to say where that, specify the source, which form was that from, things like that, right? And then, yeah, you can display your other forms data here, not just your leave requests, right?
How would you get that to open the right form in that situation, Mel, when you have two different templates?
Yeah. In the populate calendar rules, we set this trigger add event. So this happens in the main data source. So now here add events for this day. So here I have a couple rules that checks against my list, right? So after this, I can add more rules to after adding the leave requests items, then add the timesheet logs, for example, right? So it just will add to the events for this day, and it won't matter which source it came from. Just you're gonna have to maybe copy this and paste it, and maybe add something like,
You just change the link, right?
right. Yeah, and change the link. You can change this condition too, and you need to do that in your Populate calendar. Example, add time sheet, right? And then you change this link, this reference to point to your other data connection, which is from your timesheet list data connection, right? So it's just yeah, because I have this kind of wonky or condition or formula because of the dates in lists tend to have the time by default, even if you don't specify it, right? So I need to substring it to just get the date part. But yeah, that's actually just straightforward. And then yeah, that's the same thing here. You keep this because you're inserting to the same date anyway, but you're checking against how many rows to add, and so you're going to look it up from your other list data connection as to how many rows are there for each day.
But if the link is in the if you're saving everything to the same calendar list, then won't the links just be a separate column in there? The open links?
The open links here, if you're saving it all in one list, you're
Yeah,
going to have a form URL column,
right.
and populating any of these columns should be from your actual form,
Right,
from
I
the
see.
leave
So that
request
makes it a lot
form,
easier.
right?
Then
Yeah,
you
so
don't
you
have to
have a
worry about
lot.
fixing anything up. It's just you're just copying that from
Exactly.
URL into the
Yeah,
link. I gotcha. Okay.
right here. This is where we set the main data source fields title coming from those lists,
So you don't have
from
to
my
change
list
the
data
form link
connection.
if it's correct one. Yeah, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Cool.
We have a
All
question.
right. Yeah, I think those are all.
Brian, thank you for that wonderful comment. It's amazing, Mel, what you're doing.
All right. So yeah, just showing you the quick steps. Here, just a quick recap. You just need to update the REST data connection. Make sure you have these columns. If you can keep the same name, that's great. You don't have to make any more changes in the form. Or if you have your custom column names, then you just need to update places where needed. Okay, so set the new form link, and then the logic to get the calendar items, and finally your branding. That's it.
Questions for Mel. And while we're waiting for those, Mel, let's just go to the next slide for a quick advertisement here. We, of course, you know that we're using Qdabra Forms as a replacement for InfoPath. We now have Forms Designer. Mel did not show the form in the Forms Designer. We probably should have done that, Mel. But we do have it working, and we shipped the first version of Forms Designer in April. It's beta. We're getting close to the 1.0 release. We've got a little more work to do. We had a little bit of data connections we're trying to allow for editing, and basically to bring feature parity very close to what the InfoPath Designer offers. There will be some things like digital signatures that may not make it into the 1.0 release, but we're actually working on digital signatures for a future release using certificates that are stored in the browser. And so that's another ongoing Form 0 feature that we were adding. We continue to add new features to Form 0, but it's hard to find new features these days because we've had it out so long, and there's been a lot of adoption. So now our main focus is Forms Designer features. And if you haven't seen that, we're going to be featuring it again in our training class in October, which we have not published yet, but there's a small chance it will shift to November. Right now we're still targeting October like we did last year. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We have free training. It's a couple hours a day coming up in October or possibly November. And yeah, well, awesome job, Mel. Great to have you show us this cool technique.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to make use of them, to use it. We're going to ship it, right? To the attendees today.
We are going to send it out, yeah. We have a very short
Yeah,
survey,
cool.
just 4 questions, and and then we'll send you this package. And you'll get the PowerPoint presentation. You'll also get the sample form and, of course, the form that you saw in our demo, the blank calendar template form.
Yep.
And we have one more question comment. Brian says he can't wait. Thanks, Brian.
Brian's so excited. Thank you, Brian.
Everyone has a great day. Stay warm and stay dry. Watch out for the rains. I know it's very wet over there on the East Coast where most of you might be. We look forward to having you again in our webinar. We're going to try to do one again soon. It probably won't be next week, but we'll probably do one in 2 weeks. Hope you have a great September. Thanks.
Yeah, take care, everybody. Thank you.